Rain poured over the empty street as a little girl sat sobbing on a rusty bench. Dozens of people walked past, ignoring her cries. But then, from the shadows, a German shepherd appeared. He didn't walk by, he stopped. What happened next would shock everyone and change her life forever. At the edge of the street, beneath a rusted bus stop shelter, a little girl sat hunched on a bench. Her tiny hands clutched the straps of a faded pink backpack, her face buried in her sleeves. Cars sped past, their headlights casting fleeting shadows over her trembling figure. None stopped. None noticed. Her school uniform clung to her soaked skin, her hair plastered against her cheeks. She sniffled quietly, trying to hide her tears even though no one cared enough to look. The bus stop itself seemed abandoned, metal rails corroded, the bench worn from years of neglect. The girl's sobs echoed softly against the empty glass, drowned out by the rhythm of rain. She wasn't just wet. She wasn't just alone. She was invisible. Every second that passed only deepened the weight in her chest. All she wanted was for someone, anyone, to stop and ask why a child was crying in the storm. A few glanced toward the bus stop, their eyes catching the small figure hunched on the bench. But their gazes flicked away just as quickly. It was easier to pretend they hadn't seen that he noticed the girl's tear-stained cheeks, the way her shoulders trembled with every quiet sob. But then he shook his head, muttered something about being late, and disappeared into the storm. His footsteps faded before she could even lift her eyes. Two women walked past, their laughter rising above the rainfall. One whispered, "Poor kid," but neither stopped. They simply pulled their coats tighter and kept moving, as if compassion were a burden too heavy to carry. The girl's cries grew softer, almost swallowed by the sound of the rain. Dozens passed, and still no one came near. To the world, she was just another child at a bus stop. Not their responsibility, not their concern. From the far end of the street, movement stirred. Through the curtain of rain, a shadow emerged, large, steady, unbothered by the storm. A German shepherd padded across the wet pavement, his paws splashing through puddles with silent determination. Unlike the people rushing past, he wasn't in a hurry. He had only one focus: the crying girl. The child lifted her head slightly when she sensed his presence. Her teary eyes widened at the sight of the dog, standing a few feet away, his fur dripping with rain. He didn't bark, didn't flinch. He simply stared at her, his ears pricked forward, his gaze locked with hers. The dog took a cautious step closer, tilting his head as though studying her pain. The girl froze, torn between fear and relief. She had been ignored by dozens of strangers, but this creature— he had stopped. He had noticed that in the silence between sobs and rainfall, an unspoken connection formed. The girl's tears slowed, her tiny chest rising and falling as the German shepherd's presence filled the emptiness that people had left behind. The German shepherd stepped closer, his paws making soft splashes against the wet ground. The girl held her breath, clutching her backpack tightly against her chest. For a moment, fear flickered in her eyes, until the dog lowered his head and pressed his cold, wet muzzle gently against her knee. Her lip quivered, tears spilling fresh down her cheeks. No stranger had stopped. No human had cared, yet this animal had chosen her. The dam inside her broke, and she let out a shaky sob. Slowly, she reached out with trembling fingers, brushing them against his soaked fur. The shepherd didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned into her touch, as if offering his strength. The girl slid off the bench and wrapped her small arms around his neck, burying her face in his thick coat. The dog stood firm, his tail wagging faintly, a silent promise of protection. For the first time that night, the child no longer felt invisible. She wasn't alone. She had been seen. The rain eased for a moment, the night falling eerily quiet. The girl clung to the shepherd, her sobs softening into hiccups. But Rex's ears twitched, his body stiffening beneath her arms. His gaze shifted past the bus stop, toward the shadows moving at the edge of the street. That a man lingered beneath a flickering streetlight, his hood pulled low over his face. He wasn't waiting for a bus. His eyes were fixed on the child. Step by step, he drifted closer, his shoes scraping against the wet pavement. The shepherd's low growl rumbled like thunder. He stepped forward, placing his body between the girl and the stranger. When the man advanced, Rex bared his teeth. A flash of white in the dark, his growl rising into a sharp bark that echoed through the empty street. The hooded figure froze, his courage faltering under the dog's blazing stare. Muttering, he backed away into the storm, disappearing into the night as quickly as he had come. The girl gripped Rex's fur tighter, her small voice trembling. "You saved me." The shepherd sat tall, his eyes never leaving the darkness, guarding her until the danger was gone. Moments after the stranger vanished, flashing lights cut through the rain. A patrol car slowed to a stop, its wipers squealing against the windshield. Two officers stepped out, scanning the scene before their eyes settled on the girl clutching the German shepherd. One of them froze. "Rex?" he whispered. The dog's ears perked, tail wagging faintly as if recognizing an old friend. The officer knelt, brushing rain from his face. "This isn't just a stray," he said softly. "This is Rex, a retired K9. He used to serve with the department before being released from duty." Emily, still shaking, looked up, her cheeks streaked with rain and tears. "He saved me," she whispered. Her voice cracked as she admitted the truth she had tried to hide. "I ran away. I thought no one wanted me at home." The words pierced through the storm heavier than the rain itself. The officers exchanged a look, one reaching for the radio. Rex pressed against the girl, refusing to move, his body language clear. He had chosen her, and he wasn't letting go. The officers guided the girl toward their car, Rex pacing faithfully at her side. She refused to loosen her grip on his fur, her small hands clutching him like he was the only anchor she had left. The rain continued to fall, but softer now, as though the storm itself was easing. Minutes later, another car screeched to a halt. A woman stumbled out, her hair plastered to her face, her voice breaking as she cried the girl's name. The child froze, tears springing fresh as her mother rushed forward, dropping to her knees in the mud. "I thought I lost you," her mother sobbed, pulling her close. The girl clung to her, but kept one hand tight on Rex's collar, unwilling to let go. "He found me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He saved me." Her mother looked at the German shepherd, eyes widening with gratitude. Rex stood tall, his amber gaze steady, as if to say he was only doing his duty. For the first time that night, the little girl didn't feel unwanted. She felt home. The following morning, the storm was gone, leaving the streets washed clean. In the small living room of their home, the girl sat curled on the couch, Rex lying protectively at her feet. His steady breathing filled the quiet space, a constant reminder of the night that had changed everything. Her mother knelt beside her, brushing damp hair from her daughter's face. "I should have seen your pain," she whispered. "I should have been there." The girl leaned into her embrace, but when she looked down at Rex, she smiled through tears. He was there when no one else was. Papers were signed that week. The retired K9 who once served the police became part of their family. No longer just a dog, Rex was a guardian, a friend, and proof that compassion doesn't always come from people. The story spread quietly through the town. Strangers had ignored a crying child, but a German shepherd had seen her and changed her life forever.